Good evening. At least it is in London. It's 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening. This is the 16th of February. I hope everybody who has a romantic involvement in their life, whether it was a partner or just your children or other extended family or close friends, I hope you had a good Valentine's Day. And I guess we could all kind of celebrate because half the world was rooting that there would be a war in Ukraine today that would begin. And it seems to have just kind of like dissolved into the books of history as a non-event. And I remember being a child of the 60s when they used to ask, what if somebody gave a war and nobody showed up? Today was the day nobody showed up. So I congratulate both sides for walking away. So look, this is a Golden Nugget Nation. This is answers and questions time. We're going into the new format that I'm experimenting with, and I appreciate the feedback I have received on that. So thank you very much. But let's just jump right in, because last week I talked about 4 statements. And people commented on statements that seemed to affect them the most. But the one that got the most response, I mean, not when I'm talking about most response, I mean, it was like a landslide of responses, was you are not stressed because you are doing too much. You're stressed because you're doing too little that makes you feel alive. I was shocked by the amount of responses. As you know, I'm on Facebook. You can contact me on Messenger. And people did. I had several very long comments in regards to number 3, where people were basically pointing out that they had given up the things that gave them pleasure. They had given up the things that made them feel alive because they felt like they had to sacrifice all of that in order to try to develop their businesses. And it caused them to think back. In fact, one woman said, you said that last night. First thing this morning, I went to the gym and I worked out. And then I went in and I had a jacuzzi. And she said, I haven't done that for 5 months because I've been trying to get this business going. And she said, and I came back and I worked the rest of the morning and I was more productive in those few hours that were left in the morning than I was in the last 2 days. And I realized you're right. I was stressed because I wasn't doing what brought me joy. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. And so a lot of the people who responded to question 3, that was their kind of responses. Now, I also left you with a question. And that question was a very simple question. That question was, is it possible for you to take your annual income and turn it into a monthly income? Now, the important thing about a question like that is allows you to think. I had responses back on that question. I had some people say that's impossible. You just cannot make in 1 year what you made. You can make in a month. Okay. For that individual, it's true. If you think you can or you think you can't, as Henry Ford says, you're right. If you don't think that's possible, then you're right. However, I would say that I had people who wrote it who would argue based on evidence and fact. MJ wrote in and said, when I started my business, my first year, I made $8,000, roughly about 11,000 pounds. That's all I made. My second year in the business, because COVID kicked in, I only made $6,000. $6,000, about 4,500 pounds, not very much. She said, and that was for years effort trying to keep the students who were involved and hadn't gone home in school. And she said it was just the worst year I ever had. She said, now that COVID's pretty much over and I've had my first decent year and I've just paid my taxes, she said, I was really shocked when my account came back to me and showed me that I was now making, get ready for it, $20,000 a month. She said, I am making in a month what I made in the last 2 years combined. And I hadn't received the report back from my accountant yet, although I knew that my taxes had been paid, but they sent everything to me and I was shocked. She said, I just went through, I didn't know I had made so much money. I didn't know that I had so much money. She said, I haven't been paying attention to how much money I have in my accounts. Just as long as there's money in there, I'm able to pay things. But I also realized that I'm a real saver. I'm a person, I don't spend money that I don't need to spend. I don't spend money on things that other people will be pleased that I bought for myself. I'm very thrifty in the way I view life. But when they told me how much money I actually had available to me to spend at this point in time, she said, where I came from, nobody would believe it. Nobody would believe how wealthy I have become, or that I could build a business like the one I've built. Nobody would believe it. And I am blessed. So there you go. I had other ones. I had another person who came in and said, when you said that, I laughed. And I told my wife, what a stupid question. And my wife says, but you've already done that. And he said, what? She says, I keep your books for you. She says, you asked me, can I buy this? And I'm always telling you, you can. And he said, yeah, but I thought I just barely had enough money. No. She says, do you know how much money you're making a month in your business? She said, you've got multiple streams of income coming in that you have worked on developing over the last 4 years. And she said, your last year that you worked, you made 24,000 pounds. She said, last year, she said, you were making 30,000 pounds a month. He was shocked. He said, what are we doing living in this house? What are we doing this? Why don't we go out? And she said, I liked you better when you didn't know you had that money. But you are making that in a month. You are making that kind of money in your multiple streams of income every month. Some months one stream brings in more, other months another one brings in more, but on average, you're making about 30,000 pounds a month. For you people who count only US dollars, you're talking somewhere around about $43,000 a month. That's a good income. That's a very good income. And that's just based on those two questions. Oh, the one question from last week. People were coming in. People who said, I don't believe it's possible. Some people say, I wish I could do it. And other people who were shocked to find out they have already achieved that. And they didn't know. I didn't have anybody write in and said, oh yeah, man, you certainly can do it because I've been doing it for a while. Nobody wrote in like that. Just people who were kind of shocked to discover that they had already achieved an annual income that they once had into a monthly income. And so that is Gary's Golden Nuggets for now. But I'm going to tell you, I'm changing this new format. I'm trying to stay to 10 minutes. I am going to do a second broadcast immediately after this because I want to talk about the book, The Four Agreements. I hope you join me. Thank you very much. Okay,